The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday in the Riv after the judge's decision came down. And the charter gets another smackdown.
That's it.
You know, another slap. And more damning commentary by the judge. And we'll get into that, I guess. You want to think? So I guess the headline in the local paper was career staves off, council bid to remove him from office. So yeah, on a weak charter, on technicalities, he staved off the bid to remove him from office. And I'm not even sure if that was purely a political move by the council anyway, because I don't think they really believed they could win this case.
Yeah, well, they made sure they spent our money, though, didn't they?
Yeah, and they hired somebody to fight fundamentally a case that's
was dead in the water.
So he staved it off. And again, that's not the point. Let's get to the bottom line. 80% of the people didn't want him, said he didn't want him in office. All state politicians up to the governor and our congressional delegation said he should step down, get out of his own way. And just for the record, nobody here is saying he's guilty. We understand the rights of due process, even though this isn't the issue. But unlike Steve, I'm going to stay with the issue. The issue was that the council and the people feel he cannot execute the duties of his office. And the language should have reflected that, because what did the judge say? He said that it did not, this language and other reasons did not allow the council unfettered ability to remove. But I think what's telling to me, CJ, and we'll get right into it because we've got a lot to talk about on this one. Of course, you know, again, who do we blame? The people who didn't listen, the voters.
Right.
So it said even if the court had determined the phrase "other cause" was unclear, the court would reach the same result based on the charter's history. That's on page 5.
Right.
On November 3rd, 2015, the voters elected a charter commission. That's using the term loosely, except for Dan Robillard, to amend the charter. No, not to create a new charter, but to amend it and to look it over and tweak it. That's what was on the ballot.
Right.
And I don't care what Mike Mioza said at the meeting, that we couldn't put everything we wanted to do on there because people would have voted against it. No. If you were going to completely create a new charter, that should have been on the ballot question.
That's right.
That was not what was on the ballot question. So right off the bat, he's full of crap or shit, because I can say that now. Okay. Thank you for telling me I can say that on the air. Okay, they elected a charter commission, quote unquote, the commission hereafter. That means referred to amend the charter. On December 19, 2016, the commission held a meeting about the charter. Note 7. During the course of the meeting, Michael Mioza, Mr. Mioza, the commission's chair, raised a question specifically relating to the language of section 38-8. Stephen McGoldrick,
he's the consultant,
the clown that we hired to put together a cut and paste charter that's vague and ambiguous. And I have been told that he's done a lot of the recent charters. Hopefully they don't have to take
like ours.
any legal scrutiny, because this guy's a hack. He should never work again after this stuff. And he said, Stephen Goldrick, then of the Collins Center and a consultant for the commission during the charter's drafting, answered Mr. Mioza's question as follows. Now, this is, I'm reading this verbatim. Check me if I'm reading it correctly. This is and there's a pause, to address, another pause, a couple of things that may never happen. Who writes contract language or charter language for things that may never happen? Are we going to write it in case the Earth is coming to an end, and how we're going to select the people to get on a space shuttle to go to Mars to survive the catastrophic end of the world? Number one, as soon as that guy said that, I would have fired him.
I agree.
Okay? That may never happen. But if somebody is like permanently disabled, either physically or mentally, or no one can find him or her, you know, no, I don't know. I'm reading this and I don't know. Because they're gone, they fled the city. Situations like that where you know, no, I don't know, where there has been some process by which the city determines that the mayor is unable to perform the duties, well, there was a process. It was called a recent primary election where 80% of the people, and I don't know if that was part of the plea, but it should have been, but it wouldn't have made any difference. Unable to perform his duties. And this can't be, pause, why the number is 7 is because you don't want frivolous, you know. No, this guy keeps saying you know, but I don't know any. I'm reading this and I'm more confused now than I was at the beginning. Votes by saying, well, we think he's incompetent, so, you know, it doesn't make him unable to perform the duties. That's why it has to be a serious vote of 7 by roll call, because it has to be a public process. And then it goes on. Ms. Contreras said, this is like Mr. Goldrick said, if he's sick, you know, an extended illness, and unable. So all this crap, even the drafting of the charter was if people paid attention and saw what went on behind the scenes, because as we said, Commissioner, the only competent commissioner, in my opinion, Dan Robillard, said that Mr. Goldrick did not want public input. I can see why he didn't want public input on this one, because you and I would have had a field day on this.
We'd be screaming in the audience. I don't know.
at this meeting. But this is a travesty. You know, number one, if you look at the National Fire Protection Association handbook, which is very thick and deals with a lot of issues, in many instances it talks about how it can't deal with every emergency scenario, because the book would be 10,000 volumes and still not cover everything. So, like when they talk about fire protection, they don't estimate fire protection on having a mill fire every day, because you'd need a 1,200-man fire department in Fall River. They go on industry norms, on statistics and data from communities, and a national standard for manning and equipment for the average. This is why they have mutual aid. Now we've seen this in writing, how ridiculous this entire process was. This is an outrage. This charter has to be scrapped, because we can see that I cannot believe that 8 charter commissioners sat there and let this guy say this. And then one of them was a lawyer.
That's the scary part.
One of them was a lawyer. You know, something that may never happen, but if somebody or maybe, I don't know, really? Come on. Number one, and I know, and I had a conversation with Charter Commissioner Robillard yesterday after this opinion came out, and he still is ready to come on and debate anybody that wants to, but he basically opposed this because he said he felt that the wording gave the council too much power. Well, the judge basically said that the "and other" really was unclear. So we paid a guy $40,000 to write a paragraph about something that he thought may never happen. So obviously he didn't know he was writing a charter for the city of Fall River. Because in Fall River, if we were going to see what may happen, we should write a charter about how an alien can run for city council. Because if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen in Fall River.
No question about that.
So, I mean, this is just, you know, and I know you've read it, so come on, CJ, weigh in, because this just drives me, I mean, it just gets me, because it infuriates me. And what infuriates me even more is they said that the voters voted for it, so it's your fault for not paying attention. You didn't, you know, Commissioner Robillard filed a minority opinion. We spoke at 2 of the 4 meetings in the last meeting about why we oppose. We vigorously opposed the charter before the vote. And even if you, as I said before, even if you don't want to believe what we say, fact check us. Check us.
That's the sad part about it.
Because check. Did you read this disaster?
I don't think anyone did.
Maybe I'm being unfair because I'm used to reading contract language, and clarity is a big deal. You can't have stuff like this that's ambiguous and vague and subject to interpretation unless you're intentionally inviting litigation.
Right.
So maybe I'm being unfair to the average Fall River citizen. But if you don't believe us, go ask a lawyer. Ask him if he could take this to court. And obviously they could. And so could they on the you can't run for office. So this charter is getting bludgeoned every time it goes to court. So maybe Mr. Goldrick, hopefully those other communities will hear about this. Maybe some of them will even watch our show, and maybe they'll look at revising their own charter, because if the rest of the stuff that he wrote is this bad, you know, get ready for a lot of lawsuits at some point in time.
You know, we should sue McGoldrick for all the legal fees so far.
For impersonating a consultant.
we should really, you know, try to get the legal fees back. But one of the things that also always bothered me about this whole charter process was he did not want citizens' input. He didn't want any input from the citizens, but he took input directly from the mayor at every meeting. Because Kathy Ann Viveris was at every meeting, and she gave input at every single issue. So the charter was written towards the mayor. It wasn't written towards the people.
As we said, toward politicians.
Right.
This charter was of the politicians, by the politicians, and for the politicians.
And screw the citizens.
That's right. And it was obvious from the get-go that this was all about politics.
Right.
Not about representing the city and giving people a better charter, which would give us more ability to control our government, but this was about making the politicians basically untouchable. And the sole arbiter of every issue.
And the sad part about it now, the sole arbiter for this entire charter is going to be the courts. And what do we have to do? Strike each section down one by one? Because that's what we're doing.
So that's right. And what are we going to do? The court has just struck down that section. So what are we going to do? We're going to have somebody that's going to try to overturn that if there's another issue. This charter has proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is a total disaster. About the only thing that's correct in there is the name of the city. Because anything that is of any importance is vague and ambiguous. You can't show me anything that's really important in this charter that really has specificity, is pretty solid language-wise, and has a process clearly delineated.
And I sent them one.
I sent them one. I know you did.
I sent them the charter from Worcester, because theirs is a home rule charter as well.
Yeah.
And guess what? Worcester has never been challenged in court. Never. As a matter of fact, in Massachusetts general law, it says for all cities and towns except Worcester. And Boston.
Yeah, in Boston. But Boston's, the capital.
Boston,
They have their own.
well,
They
yeah.
have their own laws for everything. But as we said, this is why we've always advocated the Type B charter.
Yeah.
Because we need a city manager, not the Steve Camara city manager, which we keep all the layers of politics
In place.
and get a city
Yeah.
manager. No, we need a city manager. We need to mirror Worcester. If you want an effective government, forget about having a mayor. And you're right. This is about taking power. Somebody said, "Oh, this is a power grab, taking power away from the mayor." You are exactly right, because mayors are political.
That's it.
Mayors are political. All mayors are political. And they have to run and they have to kowtow to certain groups. If you have a city manager, as they do in Worcester, the only thing that individual, he is not a politician. He is a fiduciary for that city. He is responsible to run that city effectively. And if he doesn't do it, it's not a political process. He's not a politician. You can't vote him back in, even if he's an incompetent, because you've got some ridiculous charter that says a plurality can get him back in. He's gone. If you can't run the city or town, and you're not a politician, they can look what happened. Tiverton, I heard, got rid of the 2 councilors that got recalled. It's being,
Yes, they did.
It's being looked at, and why did they get rid of them? Because they made a whole bunch of promises, and kudos and congratulations to Tiverton. Kudos to them. If it's, we're talking about, well, we got this from a Tiverton resident, that those individuals talked a great game on how they were going to, be the people's representatives, and as soon as they got in, one of them hired one of his partners or something, one of his buddies to be the city attorney. They ignored the will of the people.
Cronyism, baby.
Cronyism, baby, right out of the gate. They got elected and said, "Hey, to hell with you guys. We're going to do whatever the hell we want, and good for the people. Good for the people of Tiverton." And people go, "Well, that's
And
not
here's
right."
the thing: they challenged it in court before it went to court, before
right.
they went to the ballot box. And guess what? Their charter held up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said,
Somebody else wrote one that was perfect.
look, if you want to do it wrong, come to Fall River.
That's it.
Look at Dominion. We got all a case law. Don't worry about it. But we can't find a letter. But CJ did in 15 seconds. But we can't find a letter. Well, the court says you never. They sent you a letter. We never got the letter. Well, everybody else got it that knows how to Google.
Everyone else got it that had a cell phone.
Anybody that had a cell phone that could Google it could find a letter, but our law department couldn't. And this is the kind of stuff. And this is where we get back to the bottom line. Accountability.
Right.
There's no accountability for these people. Those people, there wasn't people running up the steps of Government Center with pitchforks and torches when we lost Dominion, saying, wipe out the Corporation Council office. Their incompetence. Because they said they could win it. We disagreed. I think I went in front of the council on that one.
Yes, you did.
Reading some law. And the reality is that, look, but there's no accountability, whether it's building maintenance, whether it's debt overrides. So what's the moral of this story, people? Do your homework. You don't have to believe us, but at least check what we say. See if it's credible. Ask us for more evidence. We always, when we said we didn't need a debt override, when we said it wasn't imminent, we showed where other cities had delayed the process in order not to get the debt. We proved our points, but then they sold you a bill of goods because they marketed it. You had big money banks bankrolling their side. So what did you get from that? A tax that we didn't need. You're not taxed enough, but a tax you didn't need. And what did you get now because you believed Mike Mioza and his band of merry men? They don't see they're the inverse Robin Hoods. They stole from the poor and gave to the politicians with this charter.
That's it.
So, but this is crazy, absolutely crazy. But we can go back to this, but you said there was something on the last show you wanted to bring up, a couple things.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I can't remember them now.
Oh, okay. It couldn't have been that important. But this charter is, look,
I just got a message from somebody that says the Tiverton Polos were large and in charge.
and congratulations. Whoever sent that text, look, one thing about us, we've lost before. We lost on a school, and we
lost on the charter.
We lost on a charter. But we're big boys. We know that the process, but we get irritated. Doesn't mean we're not gonna say I told you so, because we will. Just like if we're wrong, we'll say, hey, we're wrong.
Yep.
But we were right on these two issues. But the thing is, it's disturbing that the voter doesn't educate themselves.
No, what's disturbing is this. They will fact check Donald Trump. Everything he says, they fact check. They fact check the governor. Everything he says, they fact check. They know everything that has nothing to do with them has something to do with something else. But as soon as it comes to having something to do with them, they don't want to see it. They walk like this. It was like the corporate counsel in the city council that couldn't find the letter.
Yeah.
They didn't have a shot in hell of getting that through because they missed the deadline.
Yeah.
That was the bottom line. They missed the deadline. Once you miss the deadline, you're out of luck.
That's right.
But they still spent money.
Of course. Because they conned everybody.
That's right.
They either knowingly lied to the council, which happens a lot, as we well know, or they're incompetent. And either one, they shouldn't be where they are. So again, as we said, congratulations to the people of Tiverton. The people have spoken, and when the people speak, we accept it. We can do it grudgingly like we do on the
Exactly.
show, and we can use the show to say we told you so. But the reality is, we don't really want to say that. I want to say everybody researched this issue, and if you voted for something, if you came up to me and said, "Hey, I don't care if I pay more taxes," and some people actually said that to us.
Yes, they
rich
did.
people. I don't care what it costs. I don't care if there's extra taxes. We need a new school. Well, there are people who can't afford their medications. There are people who can't afford to pay their bills in the winter because their heating bill is so. This city, is the poorest city in the Commonwealth. You don't have any consideration for them. It's kind of like, and I'm glad we got on this vein because I can segue into the NBA. The NBA. Because today, I guess one of the owners that Trump called out and said he's always saying how bad America is and what's wrong with America, but China, who has, I don't know how many human rights violations, they steal intellectual property from everybody. They have an unfair playing field with everybody. Everybody's even admitted that when you go to China, that you're going to get screwed. But they still go. Why? Money. They have 1.5 billion people. So what does that prove they are? They're not liberals. They're greedy SOBs. That NBA guy released a statement when Trump called him. He said he kept quiet like a scared little boy. He'll say, well, he said, well, I'll just stay quiet because I'm a scared little boy. No, you're not. I disagree with the president. He's not a scared little boy. He's a greedy, no good SOB who puts money above his own people. And money is what they worship. That's why we always say, follow the money. The NBA doesn't give a damn about human rights because I guess, maybe I'm wrong, but I take things to the next step and I try to look at the logic of what he just said. He also said that I don't think it's up to me to make any statement about the human rights violations in China because I'm not a citizen of China. It's not my country. I have every right to complain about the United States because I'm a citizen. So I guess if you were alive and in power during the Second World War, you would have no problem with the Holocaust, right? They could kill 6 million Jews, 4 million Christians, a whole bunch of gypsies, and everybody else that wasn't an Aryan. And by your logic, you got no problem with that, buddy. You got no problem. Because you weren't a German citizen. You weren't a citizen of any country in Europe. So the only thing you have a right to be outraged about is an injustice to people in the United States. In direct conflict of what Martin Luther King said, an injustice to one is an injustice for all. So I guess the outrages in Somalia, the ethnic cleansing in Serbia and Bosnia, you don't give a damn about that. What you give a damn about is 1.5 billion people that can buy your NBA product. So you know what I say to you? I can't say it on the air. So that's the problem we have in this country. And like even last night at the liberals burning things, calling cops pigs, saying that, you know, and the last time they wanted to stab, what's his name, in the head when they were outside his house. These are the people who are so all-inclusive. We love everybody so much, we're going to let all the illegals in. Now, what's her name? She aggravates herself. Elizabeth Warren now wants to give welfare to illegals. And I heard today, and I got to check it because I'm not sure, the Democrats actually put forth something to classify illegal aliens above veterans. Above veterans. People who fought and died and were maimed for this country. They're going to classify their illegal aliens more important than a veteran. And you know what I got to say to you about that one? Right there, okay? That's what terrible. I got to say to you, because this is outrageous. Because don't tell me about him being a thug or something. You're as big a thug. If the two of you can't sit in a room and have a dialogue and disagree without being, you're both to blame.
That's the truth.
So this is outrageous. And the only thing, our only solace is, as bad as it gets on a national level, it's always worse in Fall River. So we can occupy our time looking at what happens in Fall River.
Yeah, well, you know, Fall River's got another great big thing going on, you know. They got $3 million in certified free cash.
Oh, all of a sudden before an election.
Of course. And that's going to give them what? $11 million in the stabilization
fund? We got so much
fund?
money, I'll bet you we can even afford stamps now.
Hey, you never know. I remember when you couldn't get stamps.
That's right. They wanted us to pay for some of the stamps. Look, they're playing Chinese checkers with the thing.
We know that.
It's going to be a very interesting election because there are rumors flying all over the place about sticker candidates.
Yeah, there have
and
been.
money spent on sticker campaigns, and there's a lot of rumors flying around.
Yeah,
and
one of the big rumors I heard, and I can't give it any credence because I haven't found any clarification, but supposedly $25,000 was spent on running a sticker campaign, but that was only if the mayor had resigned. So this individual is not going to run a sticker campaign, and I guess the mayor is allegedly going to pay that $25,000 for that person.
So you knew she was running explicitly for the mayor.
And the best part about it is the mayor can't do that because it's a violation of campaign finance laws.
Well, not only that, the scary part is this individual handles money.
Right.
And you think that if you were good, that's right, and badly. Maybe that's why, because would you spend $25,000 preparing a sticker campaign if you were an ally of the mayor until the mayor actually officially withdrew, especially with his track record?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So, hey, we'll see you all, not on Monday, it's a holiday.
That's right. Monday is
Columbus
a holiday.
Day. We'll see
Columbus
you all
Day weekend.
We'll see you all on Hump Day.
So hopefully tomorrow the rain clears up a little bit for you and you can enjoy the whole weekend. It's going to be a long weekend, and there's lots of festivals going on in Rhode Island. They never have them.
And we will dig into that, putting illegals above aliens.
Yes,
and,
we will.
I hope every VA and Veterans Organization, American Legion checks into this, and there should be a groundswell. Anybody who proposed that should be gone. They should disappear from the Congress of the United States.
Definitely. Have a good weekend, everyone.